Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Mom Street USA. I am your host, Jackie, and today you've got a hub episode. However, we are down one hub co host as Jess is under the weather, but Duck is here with us today. And it's a good thing that they are because we are discussing something that is not my forte, but is absolutely Duck's forte. So, the goal for today is to give you a parent's guide to HHN. So we're talking Halloween Horror Nights, Universal, spooky time. Yes, I know it's July, but it's right around the corner. So that is what is on the agenda for today. Before we jump in to all of this lovely information you've got for us today, Duck, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great because I'm feeling spooky. Because everybody knows that the rule with modern holidays is the moment that the last 4th of July firework goes off, it's over. It's spooky season. Let's go, baby. I'm ready to carve a pumpkin. I'm ready to watch over the garden wall. It's spooky season.
You know, the crazy thing is, most people complain about like Christmas season being too long, but like Halloween season is way longer.
My only thing is, I wish that I'm fine with Halloween season being as long as it was. It's year round in our house, right? Like it just is. I wish that what they would do is have sort of like waves of Halloween releases, right? Because then I could get merch in the beginning of summer, and then I can get merch in the middle of summer, and then I can get more merch at the end of summer. And I don't know why you people don't want my money badly enough to plan these logistics. I'm not the only one. I know there's lots of other spooky fans out there that feel the same because I keep checking for new spooky things, and it's the same thing week after week starting in June. So I'm just saying, maybe something to think about, marketers.
I will say that while it's not officially like Halloween merch, Disney did drop a new Haunted Mansion collection.
True.
So
I think
maybe
that's a fun way to,
maybe they're
sort of lean into the programming
exactly.
of the Halloween, but without
Exactly.
going full tilt.
Exactly. Because they've got like a month until Mickey's Not So Scary starts.
Yeah,
So, and then we've got a few more weeks after that when HHN starts. So, you
yeah.
always get Mickey's Not So Scary always starts earlier. HHN is pretty tried and true to like Labor Day ish, depending on when Labor Day falls. Sometimes if it's a little later, they'll go the weekend earlier, which I think is what happened last year. Opening weekend was technically before Labor Day.
It's happening this year again
Okay.
too. Just because again, like the way, like you said, it has typically been the last week. Well, in more recent years, it's been the last week in August, which generally also coincides with Labor Day, just because it's always the first Monday or whatever. But this year, it's Labor Day's a little bit later, and they're still maintaining that last week in August opening.
Gotcha. Yeah, which I think is good because people plan for that last weekend in August to be opening because there's so many people, yourself included, that plan for opening weekend every single year. So they can't break away from that too much because you got to you got to plan ahead or else all the prices go through the roof. So,
Especially when it's like a yearly tradition for us. We know we always in we actually do not it's usually opening weekend, but we actually pick Labor Day weekend just because that's what works out best for our schedules as well as the group that we end up going with. But yeah, like we know every single year that Labor Day weekend is when we're doing HHN. So it's very helpful to have. So you're right, they have to at least stick within the same time frame for that kickoff.
yes, absolutely. Well, let's talk HHN. Again, the
Yeah.
goal for today is the parent's guide. So, we're going to be talking all about kind of if you are taking a kiddo, and I say kiddo very loosely because we're really more talking teens, right? Um,
Yes.
when it comes to that, but the goal is to kind of give you an overview and maybe some things to consider. So, Duck, what do you have for us to start off our parents' guide to HHN?
So before we launch into the actual information that we have, I really want to emphasize this that HHN, Jess and I talk it up all the time. We love it, but it is not your local haunt, right? As a parent, you need to understand that it is an intense and scary experience. So, Universal's official recommendation is that it is okay for children 13 and up. We know that there's a little bit of wiggle room within that age range. Some kids, myself included, right? Like I went to many intense, scary experiences when I was a touch younger than that. But that's because my parents knew that I would be okay with it, right? Like this is an absolute case of you need to know your child. And I really wouldn't push it too much younger than 13, right? Like I want to make that very clear. Like we talk about it and it's a fantastic event, but it is an intense Halloween scare fest. It truly is. Even when there are some cuter houses, quote unquote cuter, that people feel may contain things that their children are interested in. A perfect example, this year there's a Stranger Things house.
Yep.
Last year there was a Five Nights at Freddy's house, right? Like
Yep.
I want to make it clear that it is those IPs, those intellectual properties, those movies are tied into the event, but they are still scary. It is still a scary haunted house. It's still like cuter scary, right? So out of this and Nightingale's Blood Pit, yeah, your kid's probably gonna be better. Which, by the way, was a real house a couple years ago. I didn't just make that up. That was a real house. You know, like between those two, yeah, your kid's probably gonna be okay with FNAF if that's something that they're into. But it is still a scary experience, like, I want to make that clear, and Universal's official stance is anybody under 18 has to constantly be supervised by somebody who is 21 and older. So you must have an adult chaperone with anyone who is 18 and under.
Yeah, and that being said, Universal is not going to ask for IDs and check ages. Like, it's not a hard 13, right? That's just their suggestion, but it is a very good suggestion because it is truly like, I don't here's the thing. There are a ton of adults, myself included, that don't want to go to HHN because it is scary. I don't do I don't do scary spooky. I do like cutesy spooky. Let's be real. You all know me. I am very Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. That's my vibe. That's my jam. I have no desire to go to Halloween Horror Nights because it looks absolutely terrifying and I hate being scared.
Yeah, and that's so fair. And as much as we talk of this event and we say, "Oh my god, this is fantastic," we love it. It's a main focus of what we talk about on this podcast because Jess and I love Universal so much and love Halloween Horror Nights so much. It's like a yearly tradition for us now, almost actually this might be our 10th year.
Wow.
So like we love this so much, but it is really, really important to understand that this event is not for everybody, especially for kids, especially sensitive kids. I really want to make this clear that this isn't like, oh, we're going down to the local corn maze and there's going to be my son's friends dressed up in some skeleton costumes. I mean, this is professional grade horror. Like,
Right.
you know your children best, but I do want to make it clear that this is an intense, intentionally scary experience.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got that kind of disclaimer, very lengthy disclaimer, but much needed disclaimer out of the way and out there for all of you that are listening. But let's talk about just what is HHN? Where did it
Sure.
come from? What actually is it?
Well, if you want the detailed history of HHN, no, I'm just kidding. I
We don't need to go that
that
we don't need to go that deep.
that discussed previously. So on a prior episode, just go dig through the catalog. We've
This is
talked about
true.
this before.
Yes.
But like the very high level understanding of what HHN is for the uninitiated, HHN is Halloween Horror Nights, which is an after hours ticketed event that Universal puts on. When we're talking about it, we're specifically talking about Universal Studios Florida, because that's just our home park, for lack of a better term. It is also put on in Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Japan. So Universal Studios Japan is like an entity unto itself. They have very different houses and very different rules and what have you. There is generally some unity between Hollywood and Florida. Some of the houses are often different, but the general rules and recommendations for 13 and up are still the same between those two parks. So, as the name implies, it is a Halloween themed event. It is essentially made up of two components. There are the houses, and there are what's called scare zones. So, the houses, if you look up anything online, it's themed haunted houses, right? Some people still call them mazes, but they're not like a corn maze where you're going to get lost. That's just the traditional name for a haunt like this. So it is basically a long collection of like hallways with large set pieces and scare actors who will jump out and scream in your face. They will get you. They get me good every year. I've jumped like 10 feet in the air before and gotten laughed at, and it's very fun. But these houses, I've quite a few stories about that. But so these houses, they can either be original, like I was half kidding about Nightingale's Blood Pit. That's very much was a real thing, or they can be based on already existing intellectual properties. Like I said before, Five Nights at Freddy's. They've had Ghostbusters before, and this year they're actually doing a Hellraiser house. To give you an idea of the IPs that they select and the wide range, right? It's like classic horror movies, it's more modern stuff. They do a whole gambit of things. The second part to this is the scare zones. So, scare zones, I kind of explain them like they're houses without containment because it's essentially areas of the park's walkway that are also have large themed set pieces and scare actors like walking and running around and also popping out at you. And it's often pumped with like the very fun, thick fog, right? Like the studio fog or the stage fog, rather. These can also be themed or they can be original. More often than not, they're original, but we've had some themed ones before. We've had like, I think one of the first years that we went, there was a Rob Zombie themed scare zone, and they've had like a Zombieland themed scare zone, but these are usually original.
Yeah, I think the thing that's so interesting about HHN is that It it's truly immersive regardless of where you are in the event. There are a few limited, quote, unquote, "safe zones," which we'll talk more about some other things regarding that here in a little bit, where you are not in a house and you're not in a scare zone, right? But generally speaking, you walk through the gates and you are, like, you are in, yeah, you game on, like, you are in an area that you can be scared, or you're headed to a line to wait for an area that you could be scared in, so it's truly immersive across the entire theme park.
And in fact, it used to be that you literally physically walked through the gates into the first scare zone.
Mm,
It's set up a little bit differently now that Minions is the first thing that you walk into
yes.
because Minions was like, no, no, you're not going to put torture fare outside of the Minion.
I
That's
thought,
not
"Why
happening.
why
Right. And basically everybody was like, but it's how it's always been.
not?" Right.
What are you talking about? So it is now instead when you walk in, they'll usually have something there, right? Like a little minion or monster, or if there's an icon for that year, which by the way, when I say icon, for those who might not be familiar, that's usually sort of like the poster child character, their original characters. They usually come back every couple of years, what have you. But they'll have like the icon putting on a little stage show right when you walk in. So you're right, Jackie. From the second that you walk through those gates, it's game on. It's scare zone palooza. Like it is there is we'll talk a little bit about it. So if you as a parent, like you're bringing your kid and your kid wants to get freaked out, but you want none of that. There is things that you can do to alleviate that. So I don't want to scare everybody off, but I do want to be upfront about the reality that it totally transforms the park at night.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big draws for the event is that it changes, right? So many local haunts or so many other theme parks that do Halloween events that are similar to this, but like on a much smaller scale. A lot of local places, like I know where Kings Island is my local park, they do
Busch Gardens.
exactly like they do those events, but they're a smaller scale, right? The thing about Universals is it changes. Like Duck said, they may rotate some of these icons or some of the themes. Like they've done Stranger Things before. This is going to be a different Stranger Things this time, but it changes year to year. So that's part of the fun of like, ooh, I wonder what they're going to come up with this year. I wonder what IP or what original content, or this year I believe is a big like anniversary year that we're
It's
gearing
30th.
to. Yeah, so they're bringing back a lot of the, like, previous icons and things like that. See, look, I'm learning things. Aren't you proud of me?
I've talked to you enough about this over the last however long we've done this podcast. You pick some stuff up.
Right, right, exactly. So I think that's another big draw also. So if you look at the list of things for this year and you're like, none of that really interests us, none of it looks like things that my kids will like, stay tuned for next year because it does change year to year to year.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and that's actually why we go back is because every year it's completely different. The only things that stay the same are the locations where they host each of these things, right? They have the sound stages that are set up to accommodate this, as well as like a couple of they're called tents, but they're more like modular buildings with canvas over them. But you're right that it's a really good point that if you don't think your kid's gonna love Hellraiser this year, Hellraiser's not coming back next year. So you can maybe wait a little bit and see subsequent years, what if there's more houses that your kid might be interested in or more scare zones that they're interested in. That's a really great point.
Yeah, and I will mention again, like Duck talked about, we went into more detail about HHN about a year ago almost at this
I
point.
think sure. I think it was
When
like last August.
Yeah, when we went through our, like, full in-depth Universal series, so, like, if you want more in-depth, we're gonna give you the overview and, like, focus more on, like, bringing your teen for the first time, but if you want, like, more in-depth, hop back to that episode, because we did go through everything pretty in-depthly over there. That being said, I am going to briefly talk about the tickets
As
because
briefly as anyone can talk about universal ticketing situation.
Right. Exactly. Universal is just well known for having 10,000 different combination options, even more than Disney does. So, just like their typical ticketing system, there are still that many systems and or options and add-ons for Halloween Horror Nights. They have also changed some of the procedures for this year, mostly around what constitutes getting you early entry into the area that you want to go to. But
I'm sorry to totally cut you off on this, but they have actually entirely changed the way that the early access is going to be set up. Not just like how you gain access, but also the way that the early access functions because they are starting way earlier this year than they ever have.
interesting.
So, yeah, so I'll let you get into the spiel about your fates, but that is, I do want to bring it up because it comes up every time because they've been tweaking this for a number of years. So it's a little different year to year. But if you're listening to this in 2026 from various social clarifying social media posts that I verified as of 10 a.m. this morning, they have officially changed the way that the early entry stuff works and how early the early stuff works. So
Oh
we'll
my
launch
gosh.
into it.
Yes. So are they doing wristbands again? Because wristbands were new last year.
So they are doing
Okay.
wristbands. They are also changing the time that all the early stuff starts. So we'll talk about beta
Yes.
tickets and then we'll get into the add-ons.
One thing at a time. I know. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Stop spending your money this quickly, Zachy. I know you're desperate to get into these houses as quickly as possible.
That is the complete opposite. I am desperate to run the other way. But let's talk about tickets.
I'm gonna kidnap Pinhead for the both of us. Don't worry about it.
Okay, have fun with that. So let's talk about tickets because there are a couple options that you can get. There are, of course, just like your regular standard base ticket for Halloween Horror Nights. Again, this is a separate ticketed event, so you have to buy a specific Halloween Horror Nights ticket. You cannot just buy a universal ticket for the day you want to go to HHN. So there are those base tickets that you'll need to purchase that again, along with any of the other add-ons that we're going to talk about. The first add-on is called Scream Early. So this will allow you to enter Universal Studios Florida starting at 2 p.m. The event does not start at 2 p.m., but this ticket will allow you entry at 2 p.m.
This is where I'm saying it's different because the way that it used to be was you could buy the Scream Early add-on, which would let you in a little bit early. It was usually 3 p.m. You could go ride the mummy 47 times or however many times you could fit that ride in. And then starting between like 4 o'clock and 4:30, you could go and line up in these corralled areas and select houses would then open right as the event opens, usually a little early, like 4:45. And that would let you go and run back and knock out some of the bigger, more popular houses early in the night. However, what is happening now is if you have an annual pass, a day ticket to Universal Studios Florida, I want to be clear, Florida, not Islands of Adventure, or you buy this Scream Early add on, as early as 2 p.m., they are starting to run these houses.
Wow.
Yes, with
Interesting.
a huge, huge deal. Now, this was, again, I'm not kidding. Like, I saw it be clarified in several social media posts as like between last night and this morning because there was a lot of confusion around it. But they have confirmed to several people that I saw, like, probably a dozen screenshots throughout various places, that as long as you have access to the park and a ticket to HHN, you will be allowed to enter. They're saying at least 3 houses. I'm guessing they're waiting to see how popular things are. They may open up more houses
Right.
around, like, very busy times, but starting at 2 p.m., they are opening at least, as early as 2 p.m., they're opening at least 3 houses. I wanna be very clear with that wording, because that may mean that they're not opening it at 2 p.m. every single day, but they will be opening it early to people who have physically been able to
Mm.
access the park and have a Halloween Horror Nights ticket. Now, you're right, Jackie, you still need to get that wristband to prove that you are supposed to be in that location. Wristbands are usually given out, like, towards the front of the park. There's a couple places that they'll give them out. But as long as you have access to the park and a valid Halloween Horror Nights ticket for that day, you can start enjoying some of these select houses very, very early in the day.
Well, and that's a game changer, especially when we're
Yeah.
talking about taking teens for the first
Right.
time, right? Because that
Absolutely.
is going to be a much lower number of people that are accessing the houses at that time.
Mhm. And what I really liked about this and why I'm happy that this sort of happened as we're doing this episode is it really gives you the chance to expose your kid to what the house is going to be like, right? Like, sure, maybe not every scare actor is going to be in the house, so maybe it'll be like a touch less intense, but you're going to get the general vibe of having somebody pop out and scream in your face. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be the experience that you're having here. And that really, as a parent, gives you the ability, if you need to change tactics here, right? Like, maybe you were gonna go really hard on all of the houses, and maybe your kid got jump scared by the wolf man, and you were like apt, and the kid was like, "No, I'm not doing this. I gotta get out of here. I'm not happy about it." Well, then you can focus on food, or you can focus on scare zones, or you can just take in the atmosphere. You can take a ton of photos. You can still enjoy the event, but it gives you much more time to be able to pivot that plan. So I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this, but like from the perspective of somebody going for the first time and especially taking a teenager for the first time, I think this is a fantastic option.
And it gives you more time in the daylight to
Yeah.
experience it before it gets dark because it has
Mhm.
a totally different feel, right? Even
Yes.
if you're walking through scare zones that don't have scare actors because they didn't talk about scare zones, right? They
Mhm.
just talked about houses at this
It's
early
only
time.
the houses, yes.
Yes. So but it will give you the ability to go through where the scare zones are because you're going to be able to see the structures where everything is set up. Like,
The giant tarp over the coffin isn't really fooling
no,
anybody.
it's not at all. Like, literally, there's already stuff going up for HHN, like, daily now, right?
Yeah.
And we're well over a month and a half away from HHN starting. But it's gonna give you the ability to walk through those areas and talk to your kiddo about, "Hey, this is what this is. This is what's gonna happen. This is this area. This is your safe zone. This is where you can go that's outside of a scare zone." Like, you can talk through all of that with being able to see it all,
Mhm.
which I think is huge. Because like, even me, like, if I were ever to consider going to HHN, I wanna be there when it's still daylight outside. I don't wanna be there in
For
the
sure.
dark.
For sure. That's totally fair. And it allows you as a parent, like you said, to have those conversations of, okay, hey, here's what's gonna happen. You yourself as a parent can pull up some videos, you can get a sense, right? Because this is always all over social media the moment that opening night hits. In fact, there's like the preview tickets that they'll usually sell for like the unlimited night or whatever they call it now.
Mhm.
So like quite literally in probably like a month from when this podcast is going up, we'll start seeing a lot more HHN content,
Right.
and we'll probably start seeing previews of some of these nights and some of these areas. So you as a parent can look it up. You can have an understanding of what each scare zone looks like, how it works, what each house kind of looks like, because certain media entities are allowed to film in the house. Not you. You listening to this, do not let your child film inside the house. They will take that cell phone.
Yep. Don't do
They
it.
do not care. They will not, they do not tolerate it. Fairly so. But I really, a lot of people have mixed feelings about this. I like this a lot. I think this is a really great opportunity. Again, especially as a first timer and a parent, bringing your kid to walk the kid through what's going to happen, to let them get the exposure. And then they're still going out into the daylight. So even if they were a little freaked out, they still got to enjoy the haunted house and they're going out into the daylight to feel better about the whole situation. So I'm a huge fan of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're somebody who's listening to this and you're closer to your trip, highly recommend following our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp because he does a ton of HHN content. Also, our good friend Lem at Live Laugh Lem, he also does a ton of HHN content. So checking out both of them to see what they've covered. They're already both covering HHN on, we're recording this July 9th. So and they've been covering it for several weeks already. So go check out their stuff because they will have probably the info that you're looking for being able to prep your kid for that. Okay, let's get back to tickets now that
Yeah,
we
so
kind
that
of
was sorry for the
went over that.
tangent, but that was
No,
I wanted to really wanted to clarify because if you look this up, you're gonna get a bunch of conflicting information because
yeah,
it's been different in past years. This is the first time they're doing it, and they are just only now, again, it's July 9th as we're recording this, they are just now clarifying to people what this means. So confusing. If you guys have questions about what the add-ons all mean, what the restrictions are, please message us. We'll be happy to walk you through it.
yes. And again, noting that scare zones aren't starting that early. Food is not starting that early. It is just
Yes.
those limited houses that they have yet to announce. So a lot of that is still up in the air. A lot of that could change between now and a month from now. So
Yeah.
keep your eye out. And again, like Duck said, message us if you've got additional questions for that. But let's talk about the other kind of options that you have. So we talked about your standard base ticket. We talked about the Scream Early option. The other
Mhm.
option for an add-on that you have for your tickets is an express pass. So you can do express passes for HHN. It is not the same as your express pass that you get for your standard day ticket. It is an HHN exclusive express pass. It is a one and done express pass. So we've talked about the different kinds of that before. This is a one and done. They are very pricey. However, it may be something you want to consider if you are like 1,000% confident that the houses are your kiddo's like sole focus and reason for going because those lines get very, very long.
Upwards of 2 hours. I've seen 3-hour waits for houses. I mean, like, especially as you get closer to Halloween and it gets busier, especially on the weekends, right? Like, that's also part of the reason why we go when we go early in the season because it's less crowded. Well, we started doing that before we did what we'll talk about in a minute, which is, the RIP tour, which I just love that. You know what I mean? But that was the way that we could also maximize what we were doing with the time and budget that we had when we started going. You know what I mean? Earlier in the season, lower house weights, we're going to be able to knock out all of this with we did a couple houses with a basic pass. Then the next year we were like, all right, we're going to add on the express pass. And with the express pass, if you're determined, you'll knock out all of them without issue through the night. So if your kid is fully in on the houses, the express pass really could be a worthy investment, but it's not cheap. Just
Yes.
isn't.
Right. And I will mention also, you've heard us talk to our good friend Kirk about his new theme park app mode. I highly, highly suggest if you are going with at all to HHN, especially if you're going with your teenager, download mode because they will have the house wait times included on your map. Universal doesn't even do that. They will also have all of the food menus loaded in if you are someone that needs or wants the ability to search, or you've got dietary things that you need to be able to kind of filter out. Highly, highly suggest Mode, MOWD, in the Apple App Store or on the Google Play Store. Again, you've heard us talk about this app before. It is really a game changer. Highly suggest it specifically for HHN, but also just in general. So
Yeah.
keep that in
Yeah.
mind.
Especially the house weights are really key to planning.
Yeah.
We're not recommending this as if you're like zigzagging across the park to maximize every possible house and get each done 4 times, right? That's not what this is, but it is still really helpful to have an understanding of, okay, if I eat now and wait 10 minutes, then I know that the Stranger Things house might be double the wait time, but it's only at 45 now, so I gotta go run, that
Yeah.
kind of. that sort of planning and decision making.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, last thing about kind of tickets and add-ons and things like that is they also have 3 different types of tours that you can do at HHN. So there are 2 different versions of the RIP tour that you heard Duck mention just a little bit ago. There is a public version of it, and then there is a private version of it, which I'll get to that in just a moment. And then there is the unmasking tour that they offer. So the unmasking tour requires daytime park tickets, so access to the park before, right? But it is basically like your behind the scenes tour of the houses. And they don't, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't do everything, but they do a lot of it.
They will do the last year, I haven't checked for this year, but last year they did, I think it was 3, 4, and 6 house offerings. So you can either see 3, which is usually, like, the most popular, like, this year it'll probably be, like, Stranger Things, Hellraiser, and then maybe one of the originals. And then the 4, it will be, like, one of the other more popular ones, maybe Sinners, and then the 6 is almost all of them.
Right.
So I assume the offerings will be similar this year.
Right. So this option is really, really good if your kiddo is feeling a little nervous and maybe would do well with having the understanding of how the things are set up and like how they work, right? Because that'll give them a little bit more confidence to go in, help alleviate some anxiety, and is also just like a cool way to look at how it's run. And like if your kiddo is really into haunts and haunted houses and stuff, like, that is a really good way to show them the behind the scenes, and then later that night, let them or another night, depending on your schedule, like, let them go through the haunted house. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I had friends that ran the haunted house here in town. We had a 4-H haunted house. They still run it. But I had friends that helped run it, and, like, I could only help but think about them for this, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
how much they would have loved to do, like, a behind the scenes tour, and then, like, maybe take some of those tricks back to their local haunt or whatever.
right.
Like, I'm totally with you. If your kid is interested in like, like, practical effects or special effects makeup or just, like, generally into haunts and haunted houses, it's really cool. They
Yeah.
show you a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of the way that they do the tricks, a lot of the explanation behind, like, the house design and things like that. It's a very good tour.
And you get some more additional, like, backstory with some of those
Yeah.
too, which is also fun because in previous years and I again, I am not the HHN expert, but I know in previous years, there have been some, like, houses that, like, tie in together, or there's, like, little hidden things in all of the houses that you can look for, or different tie-ins like that that a lot of people get through those unmasking tours to show them all the different little hidden secrets and stuff too.
Yeah, the lore dumps that come with these tours are, like, frankly invaluable to the experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It really gives you, like, a deeper appreciation, and understanding of just, like, how much love and care goes into this event, truly.
Yeah. And you also get that at the other tours that we talked about. So let's talk about the
Mhm.
RIP tours. So RIP is basically your VIP equivalent at HHN, right?
Good puppy.
Cute little pun on that there. And basically, with this, you also get access to a lounge, which is super fun. Food and soft drinks, free food and free soft drinks are included with that. And you also get front of the line access to each house. So that is alone a crazy good deal to get, right? So they do have the public version and the private version. The public version has a set itinerary and hits each house once. The private tour lets you kind of be in charge of what you want to do. They do have different price points, and we went over all of that before. And there's certain limitations with like how many people, and if you have a group for the private tour, then you can split it amongst up to like 10 people and all of that. So if you want more information on that, check out our old episodes, go to the Universal website because it's a lot of you could do this or you could do that or you could do this combination or this is your option. We're not getting into all the
Nope,
details today.
nope.
But both of them are a really great option if that's within your budget and you want some more flexibility and the ability to not only have access to food and soft drinks, but then be able to go to the front of the line.
Yeah, and again, like, just to reiterate what we were saying before, you get so much information. If you get a good tour guide, which They're all good tour guides. Some are just like absolutely uber fantastic. We've had some excellent, excellent, excellent tour guides because that's generally who they put on HHN. But like you get so much more information. You will stop outside of each house. Your tour guide will tell you the background of the house. They will explain the story. If there's a tie-in to, like you said, many of these things, these especially the original houses and the scare zones, have like lore and backstory and locations and characters that are recurring that tie this all together. And you really, really get that with the tour guides. The tour guides are fantastic. They're extremely knowledgeable and they are like very happy and excited to share that information with you. So
Yeah.
if there's like a fun secret or an Easter egg or lore based connections, they will share that with you at the beginning of each house. And I also do want to point out, I we had said that it do you get front line access to the houses, and that's true, but you will also be brought through each scare zone. There's like a designated path that on the public tour you'll follow, so that way you get exposed to everything. And like I said, on the private tour, you just kind of do what you will.
Now, did those tours last you the entirety of the ticketed event, or are they shorter then and you have like extra time after? Because I don't know that for
So
sure.
the public one is I think it's technically 5 hours, so it will be from the beginning of the event. The event goes until 1 AM, 2 AM, depends on what what day you're going and time of year and whatever. It gets a little bit later as you go through closer to Halloween. So the private one will get you, I'm sorry, the public one will end before the event ends. Like will still have, I think it's usually 3 hours or 2 hours to walk around. With your, they've done it this way in the past. I don't know if this still holds true. With your public RIP tour, you will also get given an express pass. So that way you will be able to go. Your lanyard will serve as an express pass. So even after you're done with the tour, you will be able to join the express pass line. I still think it's once for each house.
That's
So
awesome.
even after that's done, you can go back and hit houses. You still have to wait. You have to wait in line now. It's the express line, which is much faster. For the private tours, it sort of depends the way that your tour guide runs it because we've had them they have to like take union mandated breaks, which like I'm all about. Absolutely, take your
Yeah.
contractual breaks. So some tour guides have opted to take their breaks and leave us a certain like an hour early because that will be like their dinner break and their 15 minutes or whatever, so then we can go and explore the rest of the scare zones in the park and buy merch or whatever. And some of them will stay with us until essentially like midnight or 12:30. So like almost to the end of the event. But it just depends on how they're taking their breaks and what have you. So that's a little bit more tour guide dependent than the public one, which still gives you like 2-ish hours to run the event once you're done.
Yeah, that's great that you still have the ability with either of them to access houses even after
Yes.
your quote unquote official tour through, the entire event is done. That's really nice for the amount because they're not cheap. Like don't get us wrong. It's not a cheap option to do. You have to budget accordingly and you have to plan for that, but it's nice that
Mhm.
your money truly gets you access basically the entire event, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. For what it is, especially if you, like us, are only able to go one night, right? Like, we just don't have unlimited time,
Right.
and airfare is very expensive. We do not live in Florida, so it can be tough for us to get down there. So, by scheduling this to be like our one end all be all HHN night, we really want to maximize it. And therefore, it's expensive, but we do spring for the private RIP tour with a bunch of friends of ours. And so again, it's pricey, but it could be a worthy option if this is like your one and only night that you have available for you and your kiddo.
Yeah, for sure. So those are kind of your options. Sorry, that was a very lengthy explanation
Yeah.
that we didn't intend to be that lengthy, but here we are. So
I've never been brief about anything.
this is so true. And I love you for it. I love you for
I
it.
just love to yap. That's why I'm here.
Yes. So all of those are your options. Again, if you need help deciphering like what makes sense for you, reach out to us. Like Duck would love to talk you through all of these options and figure out what it is that best suits your group and your needs. So
Yeah, no, I
definitely reach
literally
out.
love to talk about this.
Yes. Okay. So now that we know kind of how to get there and what our options are, What do we do if we let's say we're not doing a tour, right? We're not doing the super pricey, bougie, fancy version of access. We're just we're Joe Schmoing it over here. What do we do?
The thing that we repeat through every time that we are saying is have a plan, right? Anytime we talk about any event or going into any park, we always say have a plan. But I'm going to tell you for HHN, you need a second plan and you need a third plan because everybody has a good plan until the wolfman jumps out and punches them in the face or however that phrase goes, right? That's close enough for our purposes.
He won't actually punch you in the face. It's okay.
He won't. He won't. No, they can't touch you. They can't touch you. I want 'em I don't think we said that. They can't touch you. They'll get real close, but they can't touch you.
Yes.
So, I think we've made it clear HHN is pricey, and it gets really, really, really busy, especially as you go on later in the season. So, our general advice of, like, pick the most important thing to you and your party, I think that still holds true. But, again, you need to be flexible here. It might not go to plan. So, all right, we're gonna to run through like a theoretical steps to take as you're analyzing this, right? Assuming this is your first time and you are trying to tackle one of the houses right at the gate, right? You know, you and your kid, we're gonna try the house. We don't know how it's gonna go, but we're gonna try it. I suggest that you try one of the friendlier IPs, right? Like, I don't think you should go right for Hellraiser. You probably should start with Stranger Things
Yep.
because it is generally cute scary, right? Like the Ghostbusters house in the past was cute scary. It's still scary. There's still people getting in your face. Still lots of things going on, but it it's it's the bunny hill, if you will. You're not going triple black diamond yet. You're starting at the bunny hill.
Yep.
So from there, you can kind of make the determination of how are we feeling, right? Like if your kid did great with the houses, then maybe you go on to another house. If your kid was kind of iffy on the houses and was like, I liked it, but like, it was like a little much, maybe you prioritize scare zones, right? Like that's what I'm saying when like you kind of need to have an idea and an understanding of okay, if this doesn't work out, where are we going? If your kid also doesn't like scare zones, then maybe you just focus on a food crawl, right? Because that's also a totally valid way to enjoy HHN. Maybe your kid doesn't like things jumping out at them, but they like the spooky vibe and they like watching people get scared in the scare zones, but they want to experience that from afar. Every house, yeah, they're like, I don't like being scared, but it's funny watching people just fly through the air
Right.
was like completely valid.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe it just like this whole thing was not the in your face experience wasn't for them. You can still enjoy the atmosphere. You can walk around. Every house has a corresponding food booth. So maybe if your kid didn't want to do Stranger Things or Sinners, but still really likes those properties and wants to check out something related to it, they can get a themed food item from that, right? So, like, they're not missing out on the experience. They're not feeling left out just because they were a little too spooked to continue with the high intensity scares. There are still ways that they can enjoy it while observing the spooks without necessarily being a part of the scares, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think something worth considering, really, truly, again, I know we talked about it being expensive, but I really think getting that Scream early access is going to be crucial. If you've got a kiddo that is kind of on the bubble, maybe they think they're ready and you're not sure if they're ready as their parent. If you're able to do that, I think that is going to give you so much more room to breathe in between these experiences and not make you feel like you have to rush through it
Yeah.
and you and they are gonna feel like, "Oh my gosh, my parents spent all this money," because they're older, they kind of understand that, right? "Oh my gosh, my parents spent this money to bring me here, and now I hate it." You can alleviate a lot of that by giving them a more relaxed access by getting that early access to those houses. Now, that being said, we don't know what houses are gonna be included on that. Maybe by the time you're ready to look at that, maybe none of those houses are what you wanna do. Well, then that makes your decision for you, right? Be smart about that. However, do keep in mind that some of those experiences and add-ons, oh, I shouldn't say some, a lot of those add-ons will sell out before your date comes. So you just kind of have to cross your fingers, hope that it all works out the way that you want it to. But keep those things in mind because I really do think having that early access to the park can give you the ability to breathe a little more in between those scary events for your kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to figure out if I had to guess what houses would be available early. I would guess that it's going to be Stranger Things. They're gonna wanna have the big weight houses, like,
Yeah,
out of the way, right?
they need
So
a
if I had
draw.
to guess.
They need a
Yeah,
draw
yeah,
because they want people to buy it. So they need
absolutely.
people. They need it to be the some at least some one or two of the most potentially popular houses.
Right, absolutely. So if I had to guess, it would be, and also they kinda wanna be able to corral people and keep them, sort of in one area. So if I had to guess, it's gonna be the soundstage houses, which is, if you've been to I just keep calling it now HHN. If you've been to Universal Studios Florida, then there is, like, the amphitheater area, and then behind the amphitheater, there are actual warehouses. So that's usually where the really big ones are, so I'm guessing that Stranger Things is gonna be back there. So that feels like a pretty safe one that's gonna be one of the ones that are regularly open. It's possible that one of the originals, like, HR Blood and Guts is gonna be, in that soundstage, and it is also possible that I'm on the fence whether Sinners is gonna be back there or it's gonna be over in one of the tents on the other side of the park. But, like, we don't know what it's going to be. I would be thoroughly shocked if they didn't have Stranger Things be included, especially since it's the first year and especially since people have a lot of, like, mixed feelings and confusion.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing if you're a parent wondering if we should go to HHN, that one of the big reasons is probably because it's gonna be the last Stranger Things house.
right.
Probably.
Yep.
Who knows? Like, who can say truly, but
Right.
I
As
think
far
it's
as
safe
we
to
know.
say.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. To
Right.
our knowledge, it's gonna be the last Stranger Things house,
Yes.
so I imagine that's gonna be a big draw, and I would be pretty surprised if they didn't include it.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. So take that information again. That is our best guess. It is
Greeniest
not.
grain of salt.
Yeah. So take that information for what it's worth. But again, getting you the ability to have that early access so you can slow down in between, I think is going to be super helpful.
So, you have your plans A, B, C, D, all the way through Z, right? Like, you know what you're gonna do. I do wanna bring up that there is a show, it's called Nightmare Fuel. It is slightly different every year. It is basically an acrobatics and pyrotechnics show set to various remixes of heavy metal music. I want to be clear, this show can have some suggestive material in it. It is intended to be, as HHN is historically an I don't want to say adult themed, but adult focused event. It can be a little bit more mature than maybe some people are comfortable with having their children be exposed to, right? I imagine if it's an older teen, they've probably seen worse in a video game, right? But, like,
Right.
if you're talking about like an 11 or 12-year-old, it might be a little much for them. So I'm not discouraging any parents or trying to shame anybody's choices, right? Like, everybody feels differently about what they're okay with their kids being exposed to, and everybody knows their kid best. But I just want to make it clear that, like, it is generally a more suggestive show. And also, you can go look it up, right? You can look up past versions. This every year they change it slightly. This seems to be probably totally different than past shows. This seems to be like a noir detective vampire situation going on. So who's to say exactly how it's going to play out? But please, before you have your kiddo go to that show, just look up some footage online and make that best decision for you and your kid.
Yes, and do keep in mind, like Duck said, this year's is like a total redo of the show. So you can look up past years, but nobody knows yet what this year is going to look like. So keep that in mind, especially if you're going opening weekend. Uh, It may just be something that you say, we're going to opt out because we're not sure. Do keep that in mind. And Anna made a really good point here in our live chat. It's very loud historically. So,
Yes, it's loud and
yeah,
it's very hot.
yeah.
I'm gonna say that about the show, and, that's actually a really good point, Anna, that you bring up. I do just wanna say from a parent's perspective, it's a really good idea for you to bring earplugs. I bring and wear earplugs in the houses. Those houses are loud as heck. They get really loud. It can be very overwhelming. I am somebody who is very overstimulated very easily, and I actually almost stopped going to HHN because it was simply too much for me to process. When I started wearing earplugs, I enjoyed it so much more. It didn't ruin the experience, it didn't take anything away. All it did was just take the volume down and make it far less overwhelming for me personally. So if you think that's a possibility that you or your kiddo are just going to be overwhelmed by the overstimulation of a house because it gets loud in there, it's a good idea to bring earplugs. Unfortunately, they don't sell them there, but like you can just pick up a pack of 1,000 of those little orange doohickeys at the dollar store. I have ones, I think they're called Heroes. I got them like 100 years ago at Guitar Center. I wear them to every concert that I go to. Because my mom lectured me at 17 about loud noises, and I listened to my mother. But they make like loops, headphones. There's a billion of them out there, but it's probably a good idea to get ones that specifically just like bring the decibel level down, which is what the ones that I have are. So just like general PSA, it gets pretty loud everywhere that you go in HHN.
Yeah, loops, vibes, erasers, any of those that are good, highly suggest grabbing yourself a pair. And I mean, to get a good pair, you're looking at spending maybe $30 at the most.
Yeah.
So not a huge deal with that.
No. If you're I can't believe I think it might be one of the smallest items that I own that I haven't lost. But I've kept those. I know I was probably like maybe 20 when I bought those. I've had those forever, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like it's not for your hearing and for your comfort and enjoyment of the experience. It's a totally worthy investment.
Yes. Now,
Okay,
if we
so
don't want to do nightmare fuel because
yeah.
we're not so sure about that,
Uh-huh.
we have other options.
There are. There is an option, in fact, where everyone is fully clothed head to toe, including a mask.
Hooray!
So that is the Death Eater, quote unquote, stage show. Like the most clothed you can be. That is the Death Eater.
I never realized how polar opposite that was until this moment, and that's
Absolutely.
hysterical.
Yeah. It's a shred of clothing and also the most clothed that anybody can be. They wear gloves, they wear masks, they're in full body robes. You're not seeing nothing. It's
Yep,
unbelievable. Yeah.
yep.
So, like you said, polar opposites. But there is a Death Eater, I'm a quote unquote stage show. It's not quite as intricate as Nightmare Fuel would be, but it is still like a fun couple of minute show. It's over in Diagon Alley, and it's just a fun, quick little voiceover stage show. The Death Eaters come out. It's really fun and spooky. And then they just like sprint off around all of the Harry Potter area. It's crazy. They're like, she's a runner, she's a track star. They take off, dude. It's crazy. They just sprint. The Death Eaters are like, not see ya, and they go. But yeah, it's also like so that's just something fun. It's quieter in the Harry Potter section, so if you just need a break, it's, you can step away, for a moment, and that runs pretty frequently. I think it's, like, every 15 minutes-ish, half hour-ish. You can ask, a team member in the area when the next one will happen, and also in, like, that back portion of the Diagon Alley section, it is nice and cold 'cause it is, like, air conditioning, so if you're, like, feeling overstimulated, it's too hot, go hide in the dark corner for a little bit. It makes me feel better. It's really good.
Yeah, because there are no, like, houses or scare zones back in that section. That show that Duck just mentioned is really the only thing happening back there during HHN.
Mhm. The other thing to note is that there are 3 rides open during HHN: Gringotts, The Mummy, and Men in Black. I don't know why, like, we do it because we have it gives you the express passes also give you front line access to the rides. And so we'll do it with the VIP tour just because it's like it's there, but I personally would not recommend that you use your time on the rides unless it's something that like unless your kid is correctly, absolutely just staunchly, they must ride the mummy. They're just all about it. That is the correct thing to take a break from Halloween Horror Nights for. But that's it. That's the only one.
Yep, yep. Rhonda in our live chat is saying Transformers is also open. Is that
Oh gosh, yeah, but I don't ever ride Transformers, so no. I value my life and my motion sickness, Rhonda. Why would I do that to myself? Wow.
I was not ready for that reaction.
I'm not doing that.
Okay, well, if you like Transformers like Rhonda does, thanks Rhonda. Transformers is open during HHN too.
I'm an adult. I ride Men in Black and cheat my wife out of pushing the big red button like an adult.
Poor Jess.
No,
She's not even here to defend herself on that one.
she's not. And that's why I get to say what I want. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, truly, you're right, Rhonda. I forget about Transformers because it will make me personally so motion sick. It's
Right.
unbelievable. So I just don't even touch that ride with a 10-foot pole.
Yes. So,
Um,
but add that to your
yeah.
list of rides that we don't suggest you do anyway because you're there for HHN.
Yeah. If they had Optimus Prime dressed as Little Boo on the ride, different conversation. Different conversation.
Stop.
But until that happens, I'm out.
I would love that.
I'm glad that you appreciate it, Rhonda. I will be outside with my horror themed churro waiting for you at the exit. I'm cool. I'm
Love
cool.
this. Yes, for sure.
There is one more show that we do want to bring up. It's not a stage show, but it is a fountain show that includes projections. So this was new starting last year. They haven't officially said it, but I'm presuming they're going to bring it back this year. I don't see why they wouldn't. And it is called Ghoulish. It runs, I think, 3 times during the night. It's usually right when it gets dark, like midway through the night, and then at the very end it runs again. Sometimes it's 2 showings, sometimes it's 3, so just check the app, or ask a team member to be sure. But it's really good. It's like a bunch of excellent projections on the fountain show. It also projects on the buildings behind the waterfront, and it is set to like a bunch of fun, spooky remixes to songs, right? There's like DJ Bones or whatever his name is, and he's like playing you a bunch of like Halloween themed tracks. It's actually really good. It is one of the better fountain shows that I have seen at a theme park. I really loved it. I think it was well worth the wait and the investment from Universal to fix the fountains because it was destroyed in a hurricane a number of years ago and they had to invest a lot of money to get it up to speed again. And I think it was worth it. I think it's a fantastic show. So I think that's also a really good time to grab a snack and then just like chill out for a couple minutes and really just like take in the spooky atmosphere. That's a don't miss in my opinion.
So yeah, so those are your kind of extra show experience options that you can consider with your planning. Again, just brief plug for Mode. Uh, Mode has a planning feature in which you can list all of that out. Highly recommend. Anyway, let's talk about now something that is relatively new to HHN, and something that I would participate in if you ever drug me kicking and screaming to HHN.
I was gonna pull a burlap sack off your head. Surprise!
And that is the Deathly Afraid necklaces. Now, this sounds worse than it actually is. It's actually kind of the opposite,
Mhm.
because it is something that was introduced to HHN last year. And this is if your kiddo falls into the category of, I like the spooky vibes, but the actual jump scares are too much. Or if you just don't feel like getting jump scared as you're watching your lovely little ghouler goblin, then Universal Studios sells a light up necklace for $20 that you can purchase and wear that will let the scare actors in the scare zones know to not interact with the wearer. So they will give you it's like a get out of jail free card when you're walking through the scare zones. Please keep in mind these only apply to the scare zones. You will still be scared in the houses, regardless of if you are wearing that necklace or not.
Yes.
But this is a way that you can give yourself a little less of a jumpy experience when you are going through the scare zones, depending on your preference. But again, and I love that they have this option. I think it is so silly that they make you pay 20 extra dollars to not be scared when you've already paid $200 to be there.
I'm of the opinion. I think yes, it's definitely just like let's get these suckers for more money. It's me. I'm the sucker. I'll just pay money for anything to get Universal at this point. I think I've proven that. But I think it's also sort of a deterrent because what they didn't want to happen, there are a lot of local teenagers that go to HHN. Some of them are perfectly well behaved. Some of them act exactly as you expect a teenager to act in a public spooky setting, right? I mean, it's not perfect. It just is. And so I think what they didn't want to happen was a bunch of people take these necklaces and then just throw them at each other or throw them in the water or leave them around. It's also important to know that they also have, I don't know if they're doing it this year, I suspect that they are, but it's called frequent fear passes. And it's basically like if you're a local and you want to go multiple times to HHN, you can buy a discounted ticket that will give you access on certain dates. And there's no limit to like within these different package conditions to when you can go. So I think what they didn't want to happen was also we're going to make 20 billion of these things and then the locals are just going to take them every time that they go because they forgot them at home or what have you. So I think the $20 was like the psychological barrier that like I don't know that some marketing intern came up with where it's like if they really want it they'll pay for it, but it's not so cheap that people who just like want to screw around with it will also just buy it. You know what I mean? I'm of the opinion, but I agree with you. You should be able to have a little check mark on your ticket that says, "Give me the necklace, please," right? Like, or something like that. I
Yeah,
think
like
you
pre-order it so that way
yeah,
they know and you can get it. And that's like the only way you can get it is if you can pre-order it for free or you have to pay $20 on site.
yes, I
I'd be
agree.
here for that.
There's another way to do it rather than, like, nickel and diming, right? Like, I just wanna be clear, I'm not defending, like, the mega conglomerate here. They've gotten so much money from me, it's unbelievable. I can say what I want about Universal. I have given them a disturbing amount of money that I'm not going to just admit to in public. But again, it's upsetting how much money I've given them over the years. So I want to be clear, I'm not like defending this choice,
Right.
but I can kind of see why that decision got made rather than just like providing it for free. That they were like, A, we can make money off of it, and
Right.
B, we don't want that this can have larger consequences if we just
Right.
hand it up like necklaces, you know?
And I hear you. I just my gut reaction was like, for real, why are we charging people? Why are we charging people for this? But I do understand that you probably have some good points that you made. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Again, we can be mad at them. I'm not going to sit here and defend a multi-billion-dollar corporation. That's not who I am as a person. I get from like a parks logistic perspective
Yeah.
why they did it. And also, I'm mad that it's $20. Both
Right.
of those things are true.
Right. Yes, exactly. But I do like that they have this option. This is something that I know like SeaWorld and Busch Gardens at their Howl-O-Scream events also have this kind of an
Literal
option too.
no brew
Yeah.
necklaces. We used to have something at Six Flags. I'm sure it's something I think it's a necklace now, but they used to have like these little ghoul whistles or whatever that kids could get and you could just like blow the whistle and then they would like leave you alone or whatever.
Right.
It's all these haunts have the same ideas and it's actually interesting that Universal didn't add it for so long that they really were like staunchly against it. But
Right.
I think that they just saw like more people are coming than ever because they want to experience like the Stranger Things or like these
Right.
mega IPs, but they may not be in it for like the full scare zone experience. So like
Yeah.
it's not for me. I'm there to get to jump 5 feet in the air because somebody dressed like a gargoyle like really got me good. But I also respect and understand that like that's not everybody's scene who wants to come to the event.
Right. And I will also mention that these amazing scare actors that Universal has to do these roles, they want you to have a good time. They are not there to scare you so bad that you run away crying. That's not
Right.
their MO. Like that's not what they're there for. I promise you that. So if you get into a situation where you are really that uncomfortable, ask them to stop
And they
and
will.
they're
And they
gonna
will.
listen to you.
And
Absolutely,
I'm
they're
gonna
gonna listen.
And I'm gonna tell you, they are every year there is I either see it or somebody in the group experiences it. These characters are very attuned to what's going on. So if they see that somebody is like they are not happy that you're in your space, actually a perfect example. I wish Jess was here to tell this story, but there was one year of Vikings in the I think it was in the New York area. There was like Vikings and Jess's only thing is that she does not like being followed at a very close distance. She's fine with jump scares, she's fine with gore, like all of that. But when you're in an open area like that, she doesn't like being followed. That's the only thing. And all it took was one nervous glance back, and that 6'3" Viking dude went, "No, I'm done. I'm good," and like walked away and started scaring somebody else. They are very perceptive. They are all there because they love to have fun scaring people,
Yes.
but only if you want to have fun being scared, right? Like,
Yes.
they are nothing if not absolutely professional about this the whole time. They have a pretty thorough vetting process. They don't just hire anybody to be scare actors. Most of these scare actors do it year after year because they love it and it is so fun. And that is like their seasonal gig or what have you. And then a bunch of them also have like worked for Universal in other capacities and things like that. So like they are there to make sure you're having a good time. So like if they see you're not having a good time, they're not really gonna mess with you. They are not. They are professional. They're not there to terrorize you.
Exactly. So even if you like, let's say you don't end up purchasing a necklace because you think, oh, I'll be fine. If you end up like not having a good time, they will read your vibe. So just feel a little bit of comfort in that because
Yeah.
they again they want you to have a good time. They're not there to terrorize you. I think I
If
love
you
the way
think
that you
we
said
stop,
that.
they're stopping. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So keep that in mind if you're on the fence again, trying to give you guys the best information we can. If you're taking your preteen, your teen for the first time, we want you to be reassured that if they really want to go, there are so many different ways to have a fabulous experience at HHN without having to do every single super scary thing.
Oh my gosh, and this is so negligent on my part for not mentioning this during the houses section. If you or your kid is too scared during the house, there are exits. There are team members in every single room to make sure that everything's going okay, both for your protection, if you need to exit the room, if you're having a medical emergency, that way somebody can get to you very quickly. If you're feeling sick or hot or uncomfortable, whatever, also for the scare actors protection, right? Some people, their first instinct is to start swinging and they got to make sure that there's somebody there to save those scare actors. So if you or your kid are too scared and you're not having a good time because this house was more intense than you thought it was going to be, you can exit. There's a team member. All you have to do is you just have to flag them down and say, "I need to leave," and they will gesture you down a hallway, and they will be able to lead you out. There will be somebody waiting, a supervisor, somebody to be able to get you out of there. So don't worry, they're very visible. It's at the end of basically every scene or every room in a house. There is an exit. So if God forbid there's an emergency, a fire or a medical emergency, or you and your kid just need to get out of there, there's absolutely a way for you to get out of there. So I don't want anybody to feel like I entered this house and now I'm stuck in it. You are not trapped. You can leave at any time.
Yeah, and also remember with those scare zones, there are boundaries for those scare zones. So if you need to get out, there are places that you can exit those scare zones and the scare actors will not follow you anymore
Yeah.
or will not come and interact with you anymore. There are those zones that you can get to. So no matter what aspect of the event you're in, there's always like what I would call like a safe space, quote unquote, for you to
Yeah.
be able to go to if you need out.
Yep, absolutely. And it's pretty clearly the demarcation's very obvious for like the beginning and end of the scare zones, right?
Yes.
It's pretty clear the set pieces will start and end, so they won't follow you across it. I will say sometimes there are roving packs of something or other around the park. So there might be like roving packs of chainsawers, which we also don't like, but you can always step inside a gift shop until they pass, right? Like it's not nothing at HHN is inescapable. I want to make that clear. Except for the fog. That is inescapable.
Well, let's talk about something a little bit more enjoyable to everyone, regardless of your preference of being scared or not being scared. Let's talk about food at HHN just briefly. We're not going into menus, we're not going into details. That stuff hasn't even been released yet as we are recording this. But let's talk about what the food kind of looks like there.
Yes, absolutely. So, in case it hasn't been obvious over the last however many episodes we've had, I love food. So I will be the boots on the ground journalism for this podcast to try as much food at HHN as humanly possible. Hey, what? So what's important to know, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just like the houses, the booths will rotate every year because there is each food booth is tied into one of the houses, right? So like Jackie said, the menus aren't released now. They'll be released ahead of time, so you will be able to have time to plan, but they're not released right now. What is offered at each food stall associated with each house tends to be themed to that house specifically. So there is some like very wacky and wild, I call it stunt food, right? Like it looks ridiculous. There was like the corn dog that was basically also a mozzarella stick a couple years ago, right? Like it's all kinds of stuff, but there's also like very standard fare that you can find. There's always a booth that has like a burger of some kind. There's always a booth that has like some sort of seasoned fries and chicken fingers. So like if you want that Instagram shot of that crazy corn dog and that like crazy looking drink, you can get it. But also if you or your kid or like whatever, you're just picky eaters and it's not for you, you can absolutely find at these booths something that is familiar and you and your kiddo will be comfortable eating, but also is themed to whatever that particular booth is. I also want to say that if none of the booths are for you, or just like, you want to make sure that you can have a solid meal, right? Even if it's just chicken fingers and fries, you want to make sure that you can eat, and then you can try like some of the snacks from the booths. A bunch of locations are still open and serving their normal food. So, Richter Burger is still open. Today Cafe is still open. Traditionally, Finnegan's would be open. It is not open right now. It is under for renovation, but in the future, that will also be open. And there's also Louis in New York. Louis is also where you can most easily get the pizza fries. It's the only location that consistently sells them. And pizza fries are a must. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a bunch of pizza toppings on top of fries. And let me tell you, it slaps. I don't know what it is, but it's like a must for HHN. So you will be able to get some sort of normal food. You will be able to get the stuffed food and the cool Instagram shot food if you want to. It is just really important that you look at these menus closer to when you are getting, or excuse me, when you're getting closer to your trip.
Yeah, and again, keep in mind that you may see, oh, they've got a corn dog on their menu. You need to look at the ingredients of everything because some of it is those crazy combinations. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe that's what you want, but you need to look at more closely. Don't just assume it's a standard corn dog. You need to look very carefully at what the ingredients are and what the entire combination is. Also, keep in mind that with drinks, there are a lot of alcoholic drink options, but there are also several non-alcoholic fun-themed drinks too. Be very, very careful when you're reading ingredients to make sure you know what is in everything that you are allowing your teenager to consume.
I will say they have done a great job for usually like I'm gonna say like the key booths, right? Like the booths that are associated with the bigger house, Stranger Things, Sinners, Evil Dead, Hellraiser, right? Like these bigger ones, they will almost always have an alcoholic drink option and a different but still very cool looking non-alcoholic drink option. So either just because you don't drink or you have a 14-year-old child with you,
Right.
it's done in such a way that like nobody feels left out, right? Like
Yeah.
even if you aren't drinking, like you have the non-alcoholic version, nobody is just like, well, I'm just drinking apple juice and this is dumb, right? Like
Right.
you do get it's essentially a mocktail. So, but and they do a good job labeling it and they're very careful when they're serving, but like you also need to be very careful that you're not mixing up which drink is which. So just
Yes.
a very valid disclaimer that there is a lot of locations that will serve pre-mixed alcoholic drinks.
Yes, absolutely. And again, tons of really good food options. So, like, don't let us deter you from being like, oh, they said the food's going to be weird. It's not all weird. It's just very unique and very
Yeah.
themed.
And I'm gonna tell you, even the weird stuff slaps. Like I really like I've had some freakish things from HHN, but it has all been very good. I mean, like it's all still edible and it all largely tastes good. And I mean, for having like such a mass produced scale of food, they do pretty good for like
Right.
these outrageous types of things. So, no, I want to be clear. I really enjoy it. The stunt food is not only fun for Instagram, but largely it tastes pretty good too. So, yeah, don't let us scare you off the food just because we're like, it's crazy looking.
Right.
It's a corn dog and a mozzarella stick. Who would do that, right? Like me, I would do that, but that's besides the point, Like, we don't want to scare you off the food. It is really good. And it's also fun to just be like, hey, kiddo, isn't this like fun and kooky and just like having like it really just like adds to the themed experience that you were trying to share with your kid in that moment. So like I don't know, like I'm all about like the themed food and drinks. I think that really can tie this event together.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's a really little way that you can just have a super fun experience with your kiddo where you can go home and go, remember when we tried that gross thing that looked like it was covered in blood? Like, like that's part of the experience and the memories of HHN.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. All right. So I think that is the majority, but I think we've got one more little side note that we want to mention about
Yeah.
photo ops. What can you tell us about photo opportunities at HHN? Because it's really dark most of the time.
It is. So first off, perfect segue of being like, "Hey, remember that time," right? It is really dark, but there is also a lot of opportunities to take great photos at HHN. So over the last 2 years, I believe it was introduced, there has actually been a photo op area. So it is specifically for you to take photos with characters from the houses, as well as if they have like a theme or an icon that year, you can usually take photos with them. So for example, I think last year they had like it was like a punk rock aesthetic. So they had like a punk rock skeleton man and woman that you could take photos with, right? So they're up on pedestals, so you can't like accost them, right? Like, but you can take a very cool photo with them.
Yes.
This most I want to be clear, the most popular characters may not be there. Like, for example, Art the Clown. It would be a safety issue to have him there. For anybody who doesn't know, he's from the film franchise Terrifier, which for some reason is very popular with the kids. I saw a lot of horror movies as a child and as an adult. I'm good. I like Art the Clown as a character. I've seen the first Terrifier, and that's enough for me. But yeah, so like they're like the super mega popular ones that are all over social media that all the kids are going to be chasing, probably not going to be there. But the really popular ones still are. Like they had Megan there one year from the film Megan. They had um this they also had who was it last year too? Oh, like a goblin from the Goblin's Feast house. So like they have both the original and the IP characters. And so it is just explicitly set up for you to go take photos with them while they're kind of standing on this pedestal acting out however they would for that their corresponding house or what have you. On top of that, there are a couple of like very iconic HHN photos that you can take. Mel's die-in instead of it's Mel's Diner, but they just like flick off some of the lights and it then spells out Mel's die-in instead of dine-in. It's fun. That's like it's like a super iconic photo that everybody always takes a photo of the sign. And very often, if you can catch it while it's still light out, you can take a good photo like in the twilighty time of you in front of the sign. There is also what I always, always, always recommend to people to take a photo in front of earlier in the night and then later in the night, just a photo of it is the neon sign that says Halloween Horror Nights. That's right in the front. That and Mel's Die-In are like the two most iconic, right? So you can take a photo with it during the day and then it looks fantastic just lit up at night. So like if you're looking for the Snapstagram shot, Mel's Die-In and the Halloween Horror Nights neon sign in front are definitely the ones to do.
Yeah, they also have that big, what do they call it? The medallion
Yeah,
out
the
in the
medallion.
very front of everything too, that you might wanna catch on your way in and then on your way out
Yeah.
of another option too.
Yep. Also a very iconic photo op location for sure.
Yeah, but don't, like you don't get, like, photos in the houses and stuff like that. So, like,
Nope.
you can do
On the
photos with
ground.
signs, you can do photos with, with the scare actors and that are in the scare zones and things like that, but just you're not gonna get, like, your photo pass photo from inside the house.
Right. I'm just could you imagine? That would be crazy.
I know.
I'm gonna have to see if I can find it, but there has been more than one photo that I've taken just like posed two thumbs up next to like very gruesomely bloody scare actors. Like I'm pretty sure the one that I'm thinking of, we were at the torture fair and it was like the axe executioner, and I was just like, that's the game. Like a giant dork. So they are totally there to play into your photos, your videos, your social media. They'll interact with your camera if you're just like recording as you're walking through the scare zone. The
Yeah.
scare zone specifically you can record in. Do not record in the houses. You will be thrown out. The wolfman will snatch that phone faster than you can believe. So
Yes, and they will like, they seek out cameras. So if you want on the opposite side of what we've been talking about, if you want really good interactions in the scare zones, have a camera out, have your phone
Yeah.
out recording because those scare actors truly look for them and will go above and beyond to give you some really, really awesome videos or photos. So if you want that, have your phones out.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's a lot of fun. So,
Yes.
for you and or your children's Snapstagrams, there is plenty of social media opportunities.
Absolutely, there is. Well, I think that is kind of our little short and sweet parents guide. Again, if you want more, I know, quote unquote, hey, we did pretty good. We didn't go too long.
All things
If
considered, yeah.
yes, if you want additional information or more in-depth information about like all of the ticket options and the add-ons and more descriptions about things, hop back to that episode that we did before on HHN and special events. I believe it's like special events at Universal was the title of the episode. So if you can't find it, let me know. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And as always, if you've got more questions, you need more help, especially when it comes to like your first trip to HHN, or maybe it's your second or third, and you just want more insight from Duck and Jess, who have gone for a decade now, it sounds like. Please reach out to us. You can always find us momstreetusa@gmail.com or at momstreetusa on all of our social media platforms. Again, our Patreon is a fabulous way to connect with us. Maybe we can put up some HHN photos over there from Duck and Jess that we can show off some of their adventures that they have had there. But all of that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us for this hub episode of Mom Street USA. We appreciate your support. Thank you for always being here, commenting, liking, sharing all of our stuff across everywhere. You guys are amazing. We love you so much, and we will see you on the next episode of Mom Street USA. Bye, everyone.
Bye.